The Galactic Academy's combat simulation room hummed with energy as students from across the known universe gathered for their weekly assessment. Anna sat in the back row, her human frame seeming smaller somehow among the towering Krithian warriors and the multi-limbed Zindari. She doodled in her notebook, barely glancing at the holographic displays showing previous battles. Max leaned over from his seat beside her. "You're going to actually participate today, right?" His whisper carried a hint of concern. They'd been friends since the first day at the academy. To humans among hundreds of alien species. But lately, he'd noticed how she always held back. "Maybe," Anna replied with a shrug, her pen still moving across the page. "Probably, just observe again." Their instructor, Commander Vextara, decorated Krithian general, with scales like polished obsidian, stood at the front of the class. His 4 eyes swept across the students with barely concealed disappointment when they landed on the human section. "Today," Vexter announced, his voice a deep rumble, "we will analyze actual combat footage from the Terran-Zelkan border war. Humans," he practically spat the word, "fighting against the Zelkan swarm. Let us see how your species fares against real threats." Anna's pen stopped moving. Max noticed her hand tighten around it, knuckles going white. The holographic display flickered to life, showing a desolate asteroid field. Zelkan bioships, creatures of nightmare with acidic weapons and regenerative capabilities, swarmed through space like locusts. They outnumbered the human defense fleet, 50-1. The Zelkans had never been defeated, Vexter continued, his tone almost gleeful. Their regenerative abilities made them nearly immortal. Their hive mind made them perfectly coordinated. Against them, the human fleet was outnumbered but not outmatched, Anna said quietly. The room fell silent. Every eye turned to her. "What did you say, human?" Vexter's scales rippled with irritation. Anna stood slowly, her eyes fixed on the display. "You're showing the Battle of Kepler 442. Third, human defensive line. The Zelkans thought they'd won." Max stared at his friend. She'd never spoken up in class before, never shown more than passing interest. "Proceed," Vexter said coldly. "Enlighten us with your human perspective." Anna walked toward the front of the class, and something in her bearing had changed. She moved with purpose, with certainty. "Play the recording, all of it, not just the parts that fit your narrative." Vexter's mandibles clicked in annoyance, but he complied. The battle resumed. The human ships appeared outmatched, taking heavy fire. Zelkan bioships tore through their formations. Then, something shifted. The human vessels began moving in patterns that seemed random, chaotic even, but Max recognized it now. It was calculated chaos. There, Anna pointed. The humans weren't retreating. They were corralling. Every movement designed to herd the Zelkan fleet into a specific kill zone. On screen, the human ships suddenly pivoted. What the aliens had mistaken for desperation was revealed as devastating coordination. Railguns fired in synchronized patterns, not at the Zelkan ships themselves, but at the asteroid field around them. "Zelkans regenerate," Anna continued, her voice steady and clear. "But their hive mind requires physical proximity for coordination. The humans weaponize the environment itself. Each asteroid pre-planted with electromagnetic pulse mines. Each detonation created a sphere of disruption. The display showed it happening in real. Hundreds of asteroids exploded simultaneously, creating pockets of M interference. The Zelkan swarm, so perfectly coordinated moments before, descended into chaos. Individual bioships, cut off from the hive mind, became disoriented and vulnerable. And then, Anik said softly, the Valkyrie protocol activated. Max's breath caught. Every human in the galaxy knew that name, but it was rarely spoken aloud. A single ship emerged from behind a shattered moon. Smaller than the others, faster, more agile. The recording's timestamp showed enhanced detail, and Max could see the pilot through the canopy. It was a NNAH, not this Anna. This student who sat in the back and barely participated, but an Anna with fire in her eyes and death in her hands. The pilot who had ended the Zelkan threat. Impossible, Vexter breathed. On screen, The Shipana's ship moved through the disrupted Zelkan fleet like a dancer through rain. Every shot perfect, every maneuver calculated with inhuman precision. She didn't just fight the Zel, she dismantled them. In 17 minutes, she turned the tide of a war that had cost millions of lives. The Valkyrie Protocol, Anna said, her voice barely above a whisper now, wasn't about strength. It was about sacrifice. Every pilot who flew that mission knew they might not return. But we also knew that sometimes, one person standing up makes all the difference. The recording ended with the Zelkan fleet destroyed and the human defensive line holding. The final frame showed Anna's battered ship limping back to base, barely intact. The classroom remained silent for a long moment. Why? Max finally asked. Why hide this? Why sit in the back and pretend? Because Anna turned to face him. And her eyes were tired in a way that had nothing to do with sleep. I didn't want to be the war hero anymore. I wanted to be a student. I wanted to learn, not teach. I wanted to be normal. She looked at Vexter. You asked why humans don't quit when we're outmatched. It's not because we're stronger or smarter or better than anyone else. It's because we've learned that strength isn't about showing off. It's about knowing when to stand up and when to sit down, when to fight and when to learn. Vexter's scales had gone pale, a sign of respect among Crithians. He bowed, all four eyes closing. Pilot Anna Chen. The Academy is honored by your presence. Anna shook her head. Just Anna, please. That's all I want to be here. As the class dismissed, Max walked beside her in silence for a while. Finally, he said, You saved billions of lives. And now Anna replied with a small smile. I'm trying to save my GPA, come on. We've got xenobiology homework to finish. But as they walked through the academy halls, Max noticed something different. Other students moved aside, not with fear, but with respect. And Anna, for the first time since he'd known her, walked with her head held high not as a war hero, but as someone who'd finally accepted all parts of herself. The girl who hid her strength in class had revealed everything, and in doing so, she'd taught the entire galaxy a lesson about humanity. They were strongest, not when they boasted, but when they chose their battles carefully and fought them with purpose. Max grinned. So, about that xenobiology homework in, chance the war hero can help me understand Crithian respiratory systems. Anna laughed, and it was the most human sound in the entire station. Max, I flew a ship through an asteroid field while fighting regenerating alien bioships. That doesn't mean I understand biology. Fair enough, Max said. Library then. Library, Anna agreed. And somewhere in the vast cosmos, the legend of the Valkyrie pilot continued to grow, but in the quiet halls of the Galactic Academy. Anna Chen was finally just a student, learning to balance the weight of her past with the promise of her future.